But like here in this, I can't speak. Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Wow, I'm Chewy Mew, and welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video, where today I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 figures, specifically Spider-Man figures, I bought in 2022. And so I made a video recently called the first annual Hasbro Pissing Contest 2022, in which I kind of made fun of the Hasbro figures I bought, and I can't say this year anymore, last year, and I made fun of them, and then, you know, Spidey Fan 2002, in the comments, he said something like, I don't remember what he said, but it was pretty much that, I like how this was like a total troll video. Like it wasn't serious at all, but also it was kind of a troll list, how he just ended it without explaining anything, which, yeah. And so doing the calculations, this is going to be including all of the figures, from 2022 that I bought. And I'm just going to like list off as many as I can. There's like Human Torch, who's fantastic, The Thing, Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra, Urban Legends, Spider-Man, the Peter B. Parker from Across the Spider-Verse, Hammerhead, Shocker, Gwen from Across the Spider-Verse, Miles from Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2099 from Across the Spider-Verse, Shocker from the Retro Wave, Venom the Symbiote, Spider-Slayer, Doppelganger, Cyborg Spider-Man, Cyborg Spider-Woman from Across the Spider-Verse, Doctor Doom, Manga Spider-Man, Snapshot Spider-Man, Hasbro Scuba Spider-Man, Toy Biz Scuba Spider-Man, the 2006 Black Suit Spider-Man, Venom the Symbiote, and a re-release of basically my first ever Spider-Man figure, except not this version, like a version that isn't destroyed. So that's like, I think I got like 29 figures last year, so I did get a pretty good amount. Most of those being Toy Biz, and most of them being specifically kind of 90s-ish Toy Biz. I got lucky and got a couple figures of Goodwill. Number 10 is going to be the Hasbro Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2099. The reason he's number 10 and not even on the list at all is because I don't think it's bad. When they make the Marvel Legends version of this, we'll probably see how big the sucker actually is, like, supposed to be in scale with the 1/12 scale, because this is like maybe what, like I feel like 1/13th, maybe 1/14th scale. But as far as it goes, it has a lot of detail and stuff. It does have a bit of a plastic look to it, like it does look kind of plasticky. I did repaint it and stuff to make it look less plasticky. It kind of does, just because the way it works, just like something about the way the grooves are sculpted in, it just kind of looks a little plasticky-ish. Compared to something like the first Spider-Man Classics figure ever here, something about the way that the lines are sculpted in, it looks less plasticky. I mean, they're both plastic, obviously. I would say these plastics are probably, some of these early Toy Biz figures like this, the plastic is cheaper. It does feel a little cheaper compared to like Sinister 6 Spider-Man, when Toy Biz started using much higher quality plastic. It just, like, the torso does feel a little bit cheaper quality plastic, which, this one kind of is as well. This one's a lot gummier, which is kind of nice here, so at least it is bendable and stuff. But, something about the way these lines are sculpted in compared to the way these are sculpted in. These just look a little more, detailed, I guess. Ankle joints and all that stuff, but as far as being just basic and being simple, it's not trying to be superposable, so I can't really feel, it's not fair to judge this by being, it should be superposable, because with this figure, that was never the objective. I still think it's good. It was second place on the other list, or crying out loud. It's last place on this list, but, there's like, out of 27 figures, this guy beat like 17 other figures, so he's not that terrible. And that is the Hasbro Spider-Man Origins Iron Spider. So this is the original Hasbro Iron Spider, who's kind of wonky looking. Unfortunately, his right leg broke, or his left leg broke, so I had to do my best to try and customize the legs. And because the way these legs are shaped, long story short, I pretty much had to redo both leg ball joints in order for it to work. And his legs are kind of wonky a little bit. They don't work like the normal legs are supposed to. They do have a weird joint, and the leg does stick out a little bit, but once you get him into pose, it's not that big of a deal. He's so weird looking now. just if his left leg was in a little bit more. Okay, I'm not making a good case for this guy, but the reason he's on this list and passes him is because to me this feels the most like a Toy Biz figure. I mean, this could have very well have been a Toy Biz figure. If Toy Biz been making figures, excuse me, because it does have most of the, pretty much all the stuff that you saw with later Toy Biz, missing a couple stuff here and there. Like, it has the super good ankle pivots, toe joints, don't bend the knees, pretty much everything you'd expect from a Toy Biz figure. The only thing it's really missing is like boot cuts, wrist swivels, which I gave it wrist swivels, and then a waist swivel, and also a better posable neck. The tentacles did suck on this, which I did customize. I'm not putting my customization into account. The original one, the tentacles are permanently stuck like this. I mean, you can rotate them like, you know, like that, like barely. I did some modification to it. I customized it. I repainted it and stuff. Because the way I had to customize it, including these legs are the scourge of humanity now. This one obviously has significantly more articulation, toe joints, ankle pivots, but they're both still missing any sort of wrist rotation. They do both have hinges. His arm's kind of weird there. But yeah, so something like this having not the most optimal articulation, to me is okay, because it feels like something Toy Biz might have done. The plastic on this, however, does feel cheaper than like Toy Biz figures. Sinister 6 is on a stand right now, but I know for a fact Sinister 6 Spider-Man is heavier than this figure, because this is when Hasbro was trying to cheap out and make really cheapy figures that were... Honestly, I feel like this one, as far as the body goes, this one is better than the new Hasbro one. The tentacles on the new one probably beat this one, just because they're bigger and cool gold. But I really like this one here. It does have custom joints here, but I'm not putting the customs into account because it's just based on the original figure and stuff. And I think this one is pretty good looking. I don't think it's definitely not the best. I think it's only better than that just because this one has a more Toy Biz feel to it. And for me, Toy Biz figures just have a sort of I don't know. To me, I like Toy Biz figures more. They have a more, I don't know, toyetic, fun, creative kind of feeling to them instead of all sort of generic cookie cutter Hasbro figures. Next up, we have a two-way tie, and I figured I'd keep this the same as in the other video, and that is the tie for Cyborg Spider-Man and Cyborg Spider-Woman. This is the 1996 Toy Biz Cyborg Spider-Man. This is the Across the Spider-Verse Cyborg Spider-Woman. I keep getting the names mixed up here, but yeah, Cyborg Spider-Man, Cyborg Spider-Woman. I feel like my camera's really crooked. This one has been customized a lot with a bunch of repaints and stuff like that. Not including the repaints is what makes it so low. Or my custom paints. Like I repainted the arm with a bunch of detail and stuff. I painted in the web lines. I painted all the straps and buckles and stuff on her costume to not just be plain red. It just looked like a big McDonald's toy. Like I haven't bought a Happy Meal in, I don't know, like over 10 years maybe. So I don't even know how big. I haven't even really gone to McDonald's like in the store, so I haven't even seen the McDonald's toys nowadays. And I don't have any younger siblings, or I don't have any friends with younger siblings. Basically, I've never seen a Happy Meal in like maybe 10 years, so I don't know how big Happy Meal toys are nowadays. But either way, if it had more paint apps, if it was like this detailed level of paint app, because the sculpt on here is pretty good. If it had this level of paint apps on it, it would definitely be a lot higher. I think it would definitely beat the next spot, but unfortunately, because it had very low paint apps, it didn't make that high. This one gets this high up, even though, I mean, I know this one is not in scale, but also, to be fair, neither is this one and that one. Like I said, these figures are probably like, maybe like, what, 1/14th scale? This is, I don't even know what scale this would be, but this is a lot smaller than, 6-inch scale, like, Marvel figures, like the way figures are nowadays. But I'm not including that into account. I'm not detracting this one points, because this isn't, like, this is its own wave, and this is its own wave. Like, no one complains that the Marvel Universe figures, like, oh, the Marvel Universe figures, they're too small for Marvel Legends. Like, no one complains about that because they're not supposed to be, like, compatible. I mean, in the scale that it's in, this figure's great. Obviously, this could have more posability, but if he had, if this was, like, the superposable Spider-Man body that they used for him, it'd definitely be probably higher. But I think it's cool. All the accessories you get, this big arm cannon, the really cool metallic arm, that's really cool there. I also like how they didn't just make basically this costume, except make it a female. I like that they actually gave her a unique costume. This isn't a meme this isn't a troll video this time. This is, I actually am putting them in this position. But next up, we have Doppelganger from Toy Biz 1996. I think this is 1996. 1996. Yeah, so the reason this guy's on the list, which you might think, oh, dude, why would you put that so high? It sucks. You know, so it's not that high. It's only number 7. But the reason he's here on this list is because I got to yawn again. All right, I'm back. I also got some Milk Boy here. Let's take a quick sip of that. Shout out to Milk Boy. But the reason Doppelganger's here is because I think this figure's also good. I mean, yeah, again, has low articulation. Might be noticing a trend. Low articulation to me is no longer an issue. I feel like I've reached the point in collecting that low articulation is not, it's not a big deal to me. Unless it's like a figure that's very dynamic and it's like, oh man, they gave him super articulated arms and legs, but then the torso and head don't move at all. It's like, I mean, this one never had like a ton of posability, so I'm not expecting like, oh man, they missed on like the finger joints or whatever. It'd be really cool if this guy had finger joints and all that stuff, had like a 6-inch scale by Toy Biz. Unfortunately, he didn't have that, and I think this one's pretty good. I definitely prefer this over the Hasbro one, considering this is a brand new original sculpt. It does have all the painted on details, except the eyes, the teeth, and the tongue. Those are actually sculpted details, along with a couple wrinkles and actually, no, it is pretty decent sculpt. Like, the webs and stuff are not raised or it's sculpted inwards, but he does a pretty good musculature detail here, like on the legs and stuff, on the back as well, your little bumps here. He has more of the simplistic sculpt. Compared to him, he has less sculpt. But I prefer this over the new Hasbro one. And you know the new Hasbro one's like 6 years old at this point or something, but I'm calling that one new compared to this one that's like, what, 27 years old or something. I think it's 26 years old. Yeah, about 26 years old this one is. And so I feel like comparing something from 1996 to something in like 2018 is, I mean, the one from 2018 isn't better by default just because it's newer. It also does reuse a lot of body parts from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure, just with, I think, original hands, feet, a head, and a torso that can't move, which is also used for the 6-arm Spider-Man. But either way, there's Doppelganger. He's this high on the list because I think it's pretty good. Have to yawn again. Slide this guy over here. But yeah, Doppelganger he's not really that high on the list, but he makes the list and he beats the rest of these just because, I don't know, it's really unique and really cool looking. If there was a 6-inch scale figure and I would have got it this year, he probably would have been much higher. Next up, we have a figure that is, it is a custom, and that is, but I'm not including the custom, I'm using the base figure, and that is the Urban Legends box set Punisher, which is custom Spider-Man the Weird. And Punisher is what I'm counting. I'm not counting Spider-Man the Weird here. And the reason for that is Punisher has a ton of sculpt here. I did remove the skull and sculpting on the chest, which was really nicely sculpted. It looked really good with a lot of good paint wash and stuff in there. Greatly sculpted boots with all these buckles and straps here. A ton of sculpting in the legs and stuff. A lot of paint wash, which I did put my own wash over top of that, which this one was like a black, purple, bluish kind of color. Like 3 different colors going on there. Mine is just sort of a gray with extremely like faded blue and black. So mine does have multiple colors too, but the original one basically is different colors. I just kind of copied it a little bit. On the back too, they sculpted the pockets, all the details here on the belt. Spider-Man the Weird doesn't have these straps here or any sort of pockets on his costume. It's kind of more just plain cargo shorts. But I left these on just because the detail is awesome. I did some paint wash here on the back, which I think not Hasbro. I think Toy Biz did it better than I did. I mean, obviously they did it better, but I think I did pretty good trying to replicate it. Same thing on the arms. I'm not going to bother taking it off. It's custom hand. And then the Punisher head sculpt was really good. It genuinely looked like he was like battle ravaged. He's like missing a tooth, had a bump on his head, hair's all messed up, really angry looking. The articulation is the only thing that is not, 100% perfect, I guess. Basically, all he's missing is like a ball joint torso or an ab crunch, because everything else is good. Toe joints, ankle hinge, ankle pivot and stuff, boot cut, wrist rotation, wrist hinges, double jointed elbows and knees. A bit of a more like Diamond Select style hips, I guess. I mean, Diamond Select doesn't do this as much, but Diamond Select did this originally a little bit, which is pretty good. Thigh cut, basically all the articulation you want. All he's missing was like a disc hinge neck. He just had a ball joint, which was still pretty good, and then no ab crunch, which, like I said, ab crunch and articulation is not really big deal to me anymore. I mean, you know, if he had an ab crunch, if he had like posability on par with, like, I don't know, Urban Legends Spider-Man, I wouldn't complain at all. But he doesn't have it, and it's not a big complaint for me. I'm not counting my custom, because it's a custom, so it's not really fair to put a custom on a list of like this. I mean, all of these figures in a way have been sort of customized, but I'm using Punisher. Unfortunately, Punisher's been customized, so I can't show you the vanilla Punisher here. Move my camera back a little bit. Next up, I got this really bad itch on my leg. Next up, we have Manga Spider-Man by Toy Biz. Good thing I moved the camera back, because now you can see him. And Manga Spider-Man, look at this thing. Like, he speaks for himself pretty much. You know, really good head sculpt there. This head sculpt is perfect for you know, honestly, any Spider-Man. If I was able to, like, you could probably, I mean, the head is too disproportionate to fit on like Toy Biz Spider-Man figures. If the head was, I mean, we could try it. I can't really put it on Sinister Six Spider-Man. Also, it's weird how it has like this disc hinge, like part where there should be the disc hinge. It doesn't have it though, which is kind of weird. I can't put it on Sinister Six Spider-Man because it's not compatible, but I mean, you could probably get that to work, I guess. Put some glue dots to hold this on or something. I mean, you could probably get it to work. It doesn't really fit on Toy Biz figures, but if you had like a Diamond Select figure, I feel like you could maybe get this to look good on a Diamond Select. Maybe? I think like the scale might be a little bit better. But on this guy, the hands, the head, and the feet are very disproportionate, which is really cool. Like this backpack design. He does have arguably more simplistic-ish paint compared to some other ones, where he doesn't have a ton of heavy wash and stuff like Sinister Six Spider-Man, for example, but he does still have the sculpted fingers with the web lines painted in. Same with the head. The head has like a bunch of wash to it as well, which makes it look a little dirty, which doesn't really fit this as well, but the fingers match. Like the fingers in the head, the colors match on them. The torso doesn't, but I mean, the colors are so drastic that I feel like Toy Biz did it on purpose. It's not like they were like, oh crap, the plastic is so different color, we messed up, guys. I think it's more a matter of, you know, the red, we're going to overdo it on the red, on the mask and the fingers, but then we're going to leave the torso very bright. Almost like they did it on purpose, like it feels deliberate instead of being a mistake they made. And the feet look really cool. It's like Sonic-sized shoes a little bit. Like this little, I don't know what that is, like a little thing sticking off the back of where his, I guess, pants fold up. It looks really cool. Manga Spider-Man does look a bit more human. I think if Toy Biz were to make one that looks much more, like, I guess, accurate, he'd probably be this kind of size. He'd probably be this size, but for 1/12th scale. Because he is 1/12th scale, he's just a really tiny dude. Like, I feel like this height, like, if he had these proportions, just this height, it'd work a bit better. Like, if more accurate, I guess. But to me, this thing is awesome. I also had one of these as a kid. Unfortunately, mine got destroyed or lost or something. I ended up not, I don't have the one I had as a kid. I got this one in a mystery box, though, which is really cool. But yeah, I think it's really nice. It's really cute, too. I like the huge eyes, which kind of work for, like the sort of manga aesthetic, where, like, manga and anime, they have, like, enormous eyes. I feel like it works really good for that. And, you know, having enormous eyes, the Bagley-style mask, works really good for this because the mask space is actually used for his eyes, you know? Next up, we have the Urban Legends box set, Spider-Man. Spoilers, none of the other Urban Legends figures from the box set are going to be here. I know it seems weird that I have Hasbro figures before Toy Biz figures, but the difference is, Elektra and Daredevil, I don't really care too much about the characters. I don't hate them, I don't really care enough about them as I do like Spider-Man 2099, so they don't make the list just because the figures aren't, I don't know, the character isn't as interesting to me. Like, I could get the world's best Batman figure ever, but I don't really care about Batman, so it wouldn't be too appealing to me. I'd be like, I mean, it's really cool, but I don't care about Batman, you know? Take a look at the face there. The face is really cool. It is, granted, a very simplistic sculpt. Basically, the only sculpting on this figure is his muscles and stuff, which they nailed the muscles pretty good. They're really good. All the details are pretty good as well. Unfortunately, I don't know why Toy Biz used red pins for the knee joints and also for the legs. They did paint the joints like they did, for example, here on the underside of the arms. But I don't know why they didn't just use blue here. They wouldn't have to use any paint if they just made these blue, which that's kind of weird. That's like my only complaint. Some people complain about Toy Biz figures for pretty much the problem with this guy, which to me it's not an issue, is that he has ball legs and ball shoulders. His neck's a little bit crooked, but apparently that's like a QC issue with this mold, because I have the original, it's called Sneak Attack Spider-Man, the original single card version. Everyone thinks that this figure came from the Urban Legends box set, but the original one is called Sneak Attack Spider-Man. And the neck is kind of crooked on it. As far as having huge shoulders and ball legs, to me that's not really an issue. For me, I never thought that, like, oh man, that messes up the anatomy, it breaks up the sculpt because it doesn't look human. To me, it's like, I don't really care, considering, I mean, it's a toy. I know it's not an actual human being, so I don't expect it to look identical to a human being. And when it looks too close to a human being, it gets kind of boring. Like, having a little bit less human proportions, to me, is part of the fun of Toy Biz, that it's like, I mean, they may not look the most human, but who cares? It's not a human being, so, I mean, it represents a human being, but it's not, this is not a human, so, to me, it's not really a big deal. But as far as that goes, let's ignore the fact that it has ball shoulders and ball legs. Let's say you don't like that, let's just ignore them and pretend that they're not that shape. This is basically Toy Biz's version of Pizza Spider-Man. It hasn't been overused. It has been used quite a bit. Like, it's been used in this box set, like Sneak Attack, which is the original. There's one that's like glow in the dark. There's one that has an almost black color for the blue. There's like a bunch of different versions of this figure. They're all just different colors. Basically, they're just different palette swaps. It's not even like Hasbro. It's like, oh, we're gonna reuse Pizza Spider-Man for like Black Spider-Man or for like 2099 or whatever. They make different characters. This one, they just make the same costume, just basically different colors, which, I mean, the difference is it's $7, and if you own one, you don't really need to buy more. It's basically like, oh, hey, Wave 3 has Sneak Attack Spider-Man. The Urban Legends box set has him too. Then, like, well, let's say Wave 5 has a variant, and then let's say Wave 6 has another variant. It's basically like, if you want to be a completionist, you'll probably buy all of them. But if you're a kid, you're like, oh man, I missed out the one from 2003, but I might be able to get the one from 2004. So it's kind of more like a re-release rather than like, oh, hey, look, if you want this character, you gotta buy the same body. To me, it's a little, I can excuse that. Like, if, for example, if Hasbro, like, every year or so, they re-released Pizza Spider-Man, it'd be like, I mean, you know, that's okay, because what if you miss Pizza Spider-Man? Now he's like $100 online, which is kind of horrendous. But, you know, it'd be like if they re-release it, like, hey, here's a chance to get the figure if you missed it a couple years ago, so you don't have to get scalped on eBay. Because if you want this guy on eBay, you're looking at around, like, $50 and up. Also, it's kind of rare anyway. I managed to get one. I don't know if I got mine at a yard sale or whatever, but I managed to get one. I know I got it, like, I didn't buy it online. I got it, I don't even know how I got it. But either way, that's it for that one. Next up, we have, at number 4 we're at, or no, number 3, we have the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classics Series 1 Venom, and this guy's pretty big. Let's move the camera up a little bit. And this is from not Toy Biz, it is from Toy Biz, but this is based off of Venom's design from the Separation Anxiety comic book, or storyline, where the Life Foundation symbiotes show up and Eddie Brock's in the vault, and he breaks free, and this is supposed to be like him mid-transforming. The original figure came with like a base with like 2 Vault's guardsmen laying on the ground and stuff, and then he was like busting through, and he had a web coming out of the web shooter on the white part. I'm yawning so much here. But I think this thing looks really good. Look at that. That looks awesome. Again, some people complain about this because, like, oh, the shoulders are too ball-shaped, or, oh, the hips are sticking out too far. And to me, I don't really care. Like, the same thing I said with him, which also applies to Manga Spider-Man, and I guess him because he also has ball legs. To me, it's never really been an issue. To me, it's like, I mean, that's how it looks. Like, you know, take it or leave it. And I'd gladly take this thing, which I got it at Goodwill, which is a pretty good deal. It was like this and Scuba Spider-Man. I think it was the Hasbro Scuba Spider-Man. I don't know, but I basically got, because I have 2 of these, Hasbro and Toy Biz version. So I basically got this one and Venom together. Which Venom is pretty awesome looking. I think it's really cool. It's very big, and it also has this nice, the spider itself isn't sculpted, but you see it has these dents and these lines sculpted onto it. You don't see Hasbro doing this ever. The only time it did it was Movie Venom. They did reuse the Movie Venom body for the Null 2-pack, but it's the same body, so it's not like these sculpted brand new parts. But I really like the sculpt. It's like scratchy feeling. It's just really cool. And when you hold it, like if you hold it in your hand, not like rubbing it, but you just hold it like this compared to this, you can feel, just holding it, the texture is a lot different. Like the legs as well have it. Look how insane Eddie Brock looks there. The wash on the teeth, the wash on the tongue. I really like the huge Venom eyes that look like they're wrapping to the back of the head. I would have really liked it if Toy Biz would have made basically this Venom except completed, you know? Like, if it was like him in his full Venom form instead of like halfway. Yeah, I think that would have been pretty cool. Next up, at second place, we have the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classics Snapshot Spider-Man. Snapshot Spider-Man. I feel like I was going to yawn there again. We're at 30 minutes, but that's okay. This thing, again, is also really cool. Admittedly, he doesn't have as much paint apps compared to, like, a manga Spider-Man here. He is just mostly a blue, red, black, and then white for the eyes. The guy, I think it is John Romita Sr., or it's like Jack Kirby-ish, you know, like kind of like early 70s kind of look of Spider-Man with like very muscular, which Spider-Man did look pretty ripped in like I remember in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, Peter Parker was pretty muscular, like kind of almost like a little less muscular than Captain America, but a lot less skinnier than like Urban Legends over there. So he did kind of get skinnier over time. Like Bagley drew him looking like Squidward a little bit. He had like Squidward proportions. But I think this looks great. The articulation on this thing is pretty much perfect. I will say Sinister Six Spider-Man does have the butterfly joints a little bit better. A lot of people think these two figures are the same bodies, which they are similar, but they're also completely different as well. I mean, they're similar, but they're not identical. There are a lot of differences here and there. Namely, that this one has a ball-jointed torso, which good ab crunch. Like, look at that. That's like 90 degrees ab crunch. Then you can bend the legs back too. You can have this sucker bending crazy back. You can make his feet touch his back. Like that's pretty impressive. I doubt there's any Hasbro figures that can do that. If there are, that's pretty cool too. These arm joints are not the best as far as movement. To me, again, I don't care if it does that. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna have him pose like this. I'm gonna have him pose in like a dynamic way where he's like diving or something or whatever, where you don't notice how these do look a little bit awkward. But if you have him posed in such a way, like in a certain pose, it disguises it. Like, if you just look at it directly like that, it's like, what's going on here, you know? That looks kind of weird if you haven't posed that like that. You kind of do have to... It's like Yamaguchi, how the articulation on them is kind of funky, too. There's, like, a lot of moving parts and stuff. But if you get the joints lined up right, you can make it look phenomenal, you know? You have finger joints here. Again, people complain about ball joint legs, which I don't care. I mean, that's just how it looks. It does... Unfortunately, mine did crack open... And I had to put glue dots and stuff. I had to do some surgery inside because the legs were really loose. And then the waist swivel was also really loose. So I had to do some fixing and stuff there. It has a pretty good sculpt here and details throughout the legs. Which I think this looks really good. Unfortunately, it's not number one. But it is the number one Spider-Man that I got this year. Let's put him right over there. Number one place is Venom the Symbiote. So, this guy also happened to be number one on my, the creepiest Spider-Man villains as action figures, which that one got almost 800 views. I don't know how I achieved that. That's really good. I guess people like creepy Spider-Man characters. And this thing is like the creepiest it gets. I mean, Xenophage is also incredibly creepy. But this thing, I don't own Xenophage, and I own this one, so this is really cool looking. It's really weird. It's very creative on Toy Biz how they made this monster thing. We're like, hey, let's make a really creepy looking Venom. You can have him squatting down. He looks like a xenomorph from Alien, which is probably the inspiration. The paint apps on this guy and the sculpt is phenomenal. Look at all that black wash in there. All the details and stuff, the spikes, like the weird like foot claw. Really cool details and stuff. I really like this. I think it looks really awesome. The crazy tail, all the sculpting and detail on this. There's just a lot of good detail there. All these spikes have a bunch of yellowish wash in them as well. Just overall, just very great paint apps, sculpt, detail, and the size, and also just the design of this. I think this might be an original Toy Biz design. I don't think this was ever in the comic books. Wide angle lens. So number 10 is Spider-Man 2099 from Across the Spider-Verse. Number 9 is the Spider-Man Origins 2006 Iron Spider. Number 8 is Cyborg Spider-Man and Cyborg Spider-Woman. I'm putting them both together because they're both cyborgs and they're both cool, but I feel like they're kind of tied. We have Doppelganger at number 7. We have Punisher at number 6. We have Manga Spider-Man number 5. We have Urban Legend Spider-Man at number 4. We have Spider-Man Classics Series 1 Venom at number 3. Number 2 is Snapshot Spider-Man, and number 1 Venom the Symbiote. You may notice on this list, only 3 Hasbro figures made it on, and one of them only made it on the list because it looks like a Toy Biz figure. It's basically like a Toy Biz figure with a little less posability. So, he only makes the list because he looks like a Toy Biz figure. This one makes the list just because some of the other figures I got are less interesting, I guess. And then Cyborg Spider-Woman is tied with the 90s Toy Biz figure. So in the end, in the end, most Hasbro figures don't make this list because I don't really care too much about Hasbro. So I'm pretty sure even if I had the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, he probably wouldn't make the list just because it's like, I mean, it's cool looking, but I don't really care, you know, whatever. That also helps too that it's not being objective. Like, objectively, some of these might not make the list, like if we're like critically, but for me, this is what I like, so this is what's on here. This video is almost 45 minutes. I'm gonna have to edit this down. But either way, that's all for this video. Let me know what you think about this list. And this is the serious list versus the previous one being a joke. But either way, that's all for this video. I will see you guys in the next review. Bye-bye!